taking a look at probably the most unique gun that I've ever put my hands on. That's the Silencer Co. Maxim 9. Sunday Gun Day. What is going on, everyone? Back again with another episode of Stuff and Things. Still down here in Southern Maryland with the guys at Panda Tactical, and thanks to them, they got their hands on the Maxim 9. If you've never heard of this gun before, or you have no idea what you're looking at right now, let me just preface the video a little bit. I'm very new when it comes to suppressors, suppressed handguns, suppressed rifles, pretty much anything that has to do with silencers, suppressors, whatever you want to call them. I'm completely new at. Today, being down here with these guys has allowed me to have access to pretty much anything that I want to shoot, so I've been shooting 45 suppressed, 300 blackout suppressed, and now we're moving on to something that kind of bridges the gap between a regular gun and a suppressed gun. So enter the Maxim 9. This gun was developed by Silencer Co., who is actually the maker of some of the silencers that you've probably seen in previous videos. From the back here, it looks like a normal handgun, but then obviously as you come up to the front, that's where you'll find the integral suppressor. So as this gun comes out of the box, it's completely suppressed already. No need to buy a gun, a threaded barrel, a suppressor. You got it all in one package right here. So the way to purchase a gun like this, at least in my home state of Pennsylvania, would be the regular form for the gun as well as a form 4 for the suppressor, but it's all in one package. You're still going to have to pay the tax stamp to the ATF, but I mean, you're getting it all in one package, so you can't really go wrong. As this gun comes out of the box, it runs, I believe, about $1,400, so in my opinion, I'm pretty sure you could pick this up cheaper than you could pick up a gun with a threaded barrel and a suppressor on top of that. Then again, if you go this route, this is all one piece. This does actually give you the option to pull out part of the suppressor. I'm not exactly sure how this works because this is my first time getting my hands on it, but other than that, you're stuck with what you got. Whereas if you were to go out and buy a gun, you could get a different barrel for it, you could get different suppressors for it. So with that being said, I don't know if I would go this route or go the route where you buy everything completely separate, but then you have the option to choose. So Elliot from Panda Tactical hands me this gun as soon as we get here in the morning, and as soon as it touches my hand, I'm like, holy shit, this thing is way lighter than it actually looks. It looks like this thing is just going to weigh it down, but it's really not that bad, so that was the first thing that was surprising to me. I also told him that if I was blindfolded and someone just put this gun in my hand, I would think that I'm holding an HK VP9. Something about the way the beaver tail is and like the contour of the grip, the finger grooves in the front, it just feels really reminiscent of a VP9. So like I said, this thing is a little bit modular, so you can pull out this section. I'm not exactly sure why you would want to do that. I'm assuming just to kind of cut back on the overall length of it. It comes ready for an optic, so this is basically like the MOS Glocks. You can throw, I'm assuming, a Trijicon RMR or one of the Burris or Vortex sights on there. The design of this thing, I don't know who the hell designed this, but I can't tell if I love it or if I think it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. The grip texturing is super unique. I wouldn't say that it's like very aggressive, but it's definitely not slick. My hands are pretty sweaty since it's so hot out right now, and I feel like I can get a good handle on it. It is a full-size handgun, but it's definitely not anything comparable to like the custom stippling that you can get with some companies. Speaking of the overall length of this thing, I think that will really help when it comes to the sights. The sights are really nice. I can get a good picture with it. It points pretty naturally, even though it looks ridiculous in your hand. The slide really only consists of this back portion here, so without even shooting this, I already know that this is going to cut down on recoil a lot. This is not going to have nearly as much recoil as like the suppressed FN that we were shooting earlier today. A lot of people have had their hands on this gun before. We're holding on to the prototype, so I never put my hands on that before. I've seen videos and pictures of it, but I'm not really sure exactly what has changed. One thing that I never really noticed before was how they have a key mod down here. I'm not sure if that was included in the prototype. Like I said, I never saw it, so I don't know what has changed, but that's basically it for an overview of this thing. It's just super unique. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to talk about once I shoot it, so let's go do that.
Wait, ears. Just kidding.
You got it. Okay, quick first mag impression. As I said, I do like the sights. You can get a pretty good sight picture. No problems with accuracy or anything. Grip feels nice. It does shoot like a VP9, I would say, with less recoil because of how small the actual portion of the slide that moves is. The bulk in the front also kind of feels like if it was a VP9 with a light or something similar on the front. So the recoil was manageable. Quietness was great. Like I said, I'm new to suppressors, so I really don't have anything else to compare to other than the FN Tactical that we were shooting, a USP 40 that was suppressed as well, so there's a couple things I can compare it to, but this is all my first day dealing with this kind of stuff. Regardless, I was shooting it without ears, no problems at all. I was shooting it into the dirt too because the ringing of the steel was just too loud, so a couple rounds in the dirt there just to give you guys a better idea of how quiet this thing actually is. And then there's the trigger. I'm not really going to knock Silencer Co. for this because they're not a gun manufacturer first. They specialize in suppressors and silencers, obviously, but the trigger is not that great. The overall design of it, I do definitely like. The trigger safety and everything is that reminiscent of a Glock. The flat trigger shoe is also nice because when it comes to having a curved trigger similar to Glocks, you kind of tend to pull or push the trigger in a certain direction. I personally like flat trigger faces like that. That way you can keep your shots consistent. The take-up on this thing is gritty and it's really tough, actually. The brake, not very predictable. There it is. So the trigger pull is really heavy. The reset was kind of non-existent. I think that was the reset right there. Yeah. So
You can't hear?
yeah. So the reset is really hard to hear, really hard to feel. You don't get the tactile feedback that I personally like. Is that a deal breaker? Not really. Like I said, they're not a gun manufacturer first, so they gave it their best attempt. This gun is very new on the market, so any kind of first generation of anything, whether it's a new camera or a car or something like that, you're always going to have hiccups, so I'm hoping that people who go out and buy this gun will fund further development of projects like this in the future. I'll save the rest of that for my final thoughts. I'm going to put some more rounds down and hopefully get a better understanding of this thing. Alright, jumping right into my final thoughts on the Maxim 9. Is it everything that I thought it would be? Not exactly. I'm kind of indifferent about it right now, and I'm not really sure why. For what this gun is, for what it's marketed as, it does everything pretty well, but it doesn't do one specific thing very, very well. So to me, it kind of seems like a jack of all trades, but a master of none. So what is a practical situation that a gun like this could be used for? I guess I would say like a nightstand gun. If you're going to mount a light under here, it would be nice to have a suppressed gun. Obviously, if you're shooting indoors, your life depends on it. It's going to save your hearing and it would be good for that. As a gun you would carry? Hell no. I know they market these things with holsters and that is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen or heard. To have this thing strapped to your side carrying this around, you might as well be carrying a full-size 50 cal Desert Eagle because it is just not practical at all. However, when you do compare the size of this thing to a full-size gun with a suppressor on the end of it, it's a lot shorter. This is the FNX Tactical, suppressed obviously. Both of the guns shoot pretty similarly when it comes to the actual suppression. The noise is somewhat comparable, obviously different calibers and different types of suppression systems, but to me they both sound pretty similar, and that's coming from someone who has just started shooting suppressors as of today. So what else could this gun be useful for? Well, in my opinion, a range toy. I mean, it's cool, it's super unique, and like I said, hopefully people who buy this gun, Silencer Co. takes that money and puts it towards more development and research into different ways to improve this thing. Some of the things that are nice on it are the sights. I was really accurate with it. The super long sight picture obviously makes it easy to point. The grip feels good in my hands, no complaint there at all whatsoever. The slide, low recoil, I definitely like that as well. The option to add an optic, that's another plus. When it comes to taking this part out of the suppressor to shorten this thing, again, like I said, I don't really know why you would want to do that. I guess if you just wanted a more compact gun. If I had to guess, that would make it louder because there's less room for the gas to expand in there, but if I owned this gun, I think I'd be pretty happy with the size that it's at right now. And then there's the trigger. That's one thing that I really feel like is lacking on this gun. I can't exactly put my finger on what it is that I don't like about it. Yeah, of course, it's the non-audible and non-tactile reset, but regardless of all that, I still shot it pretty decently, and there's not much else I can say about that. Ask me a question about this thing.
Would you carry it?
No.
You would not carry it.
I said carrying this thing is like the equivalent of carrying a 50 cal Desert Eagle. The only way I could see this thing being practical is having it like on a nightstand at night. If you throw a light on there, you don't want to be shooting indoors without ears. Something like this does it the same. You could put different lights on it and stuff. It's more modular. Which would you pick? I would say to go with a gun like this. More options. You can't take the suppressor off of this. You're stuck with the size this is at. Whereas this, I can remove the suppressor and shoot it as a regular handgun. As you know, I always say I'm not a professional, but if you want to know my opinion on something, feel free to ask. Of course, a huge shout out to Panda Tactical for first getting their hands on this and then letting me be one of the first people to shoot it. I know a lot of these videos have been super quick, but they have so much cool stuff here that I'm just trying to get to everything, give you my opinion on most of the stuff, and then move on to the next one right away. So with all that being said, if you are new to this channel, feel free to click subscribe. I make new videos every week. A Sunday Gun Day every Sunday from here until I get sick of guns. And I can bet you that ain't happening anytime soon. So, as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one.